The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Week 10 DraftKings main slate picks and preview. If you're looking for the cheat sheet, that comes out on Thursday mornings. It'll be updated to the description of the video and the podcast, or you can just find it on my Facebook page or on dkplaybook.com. If you hit the description right now, you can find all the links to all the audio versions and all the rankings and previous shows from the week. So please smash that like button, then leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section and tell me your favorite wide receiver play on the main slate that is below $4,000 this week. We need someone better than Lord Aldrich from last week, and it's probably going to be one of these Oakland guys after my guest and I talk this through. Davis Mattek, host of The TakeCast, the most controversial kind of sports podcast going.
Hasn't been a good controversial episode in like a couple weeks. No one's really ruffled any feathers. Maybe this draft cheat episode will get people angry, but no one's been mad at me in a couple weeks.
I mean, people were pretty upset with you online yesterday, I saw.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was actually, I would say I was kind of encouraged from the results. I would say it's about 50-50, people being angry and people being like, wow, it's cool. It's cool that someone doesn't care if people unfollow him. I think people respect if you don't care if people don't like you.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think I got where I am? Everyone hates me, yet here I sit. It's fantastic.
Here you sit, host of the most successful entertainment hour on iTunes.
See, there we go. The entertainment hour. That is the perfect way to describe it. Because if you start tailing some of these picks, they're not golf picks and these are football picks. It's probably not going to work out so well. So let's try to break this down. And maybe we'll have, the last time you were on, you and Siege were on, I think that was my best week of the season. So hopefully you're the good luck charm as it comes
and
to this.
And now we don't have Siege to talk about Matt Breida, so it'll probably be even better.
Siege to talk about Matt Breida or how the Rams defense is a generational defense.
The generation. I mean, the amount of generational talents on that Rams roster.
It's otherworldly. Let's talk running backs though. Jumping right into it. Gurley's at the top. He's $9,400. Melvin Gordon follows him. Hunt, Kamara, James White. They're all up there. You also have Joe Mixon at $7,700. David Johnson sneaks in just below the $7,000 threshold at $6,800. Fournette is back. He's $63,000. Marlon Mack is $6,000. My first look here at the top is I really like Melvin Gordon against the Raiders. I know he was stymied a little bit last time out. He had, I think it was 57 yards rushing on 17 carries. That's not good against the Raiders. Yet it's Melvin Gordon, so he picked up 64 yards through the air, still scored a touchdown. He scored a touchdown in 6 straight games. I know that if you can just pay up for Gurley, he's only $400 more this week. So I think that a lot of people will do that. So for tournament play, I think that Melvin Gordon might be the move here. He did play a season high 88% of the snaps last week against Seattle as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gordon might even just be like the straight up better play than Gurley, because like this Seattle team, man, they are so bad. I just don't think that they remain competitive in this game at all.
What are you talking about? Seattle just took the LA to the wire like 3 weeks ago.
They're not good. They run the ball too often to be good against a good team. Like teams that are kind of inefficient, like the Chargers. Like the Chargers don't even have an analytics department, but teams that are like smart and well coached. I think that I mean, I don't know what the line is on this game. I'm assuming it's like 9 or 10.
For what? For which game?
For the Seattle LA Rams game.
I believe it is 9. It's 10.
That was yeah.
It's 10 for Oakland, Seattle.
It's right now the live line for both of them is 10, and I think I like the Rams side of that. The Seahawks just play a brand of football that is so spectacularly inefficient that I expect the Rams to kind of handle them pretty easily this week. So I think we would see maybe a little bit more Malcolm Brown this week. Though I guess it is worth mentioning that if Malcolm Brown did not come in the red zone last week for the Rams, it's probably pretty likely that Gurley has another 2 touchdown game, gets to 26 DraftKings points and no one bats an eye. So yeah, but I think both of these guys are in good spots, but probably a little bit more usage for Melvin Gordon this week.
Yeah, I mean, I like both of them. You can pick your poison with them. I'm not advocating fading Gurley. I think that's kind of insane on most slates, considering he's a slate breaker. If I had to fade one of these top guys, it's probably going to be Kamara. Like, Kamara ran so hot with the opportunities that he got last week. Like Mark Ingram coming back, not that Mark Ingram's doing anything, but he's just really cutting down the bottom line and the potential upside for Kamara. Like everything broke right. The points were all scored. He got all the touchdowns. It was amazing. He was a fantastic player.
I don't think I agree with that take, Pat. I think Kamara is used just as frequently as he was before. He's got 19, 13, and 17 carries, 5 and 8 targets the last 2 weeks. And Kamara is
what was he doing weeks 1 through 4?
8, 13, 6, 19 carries.
And how many catches?
The big outlier is that week 3 game against Atlanta where he had 15 receptions.
But he was averaging right around double-digit targets per game without Ingram around, and they've kind of shifted away from that. It's just he's not getting those high of totals. He's still good. Like, he deserves to be $8,700, but if you're going to tell me that one of these 3 guys gets a bit left out of the mix or Ingram steals a touchdown, it takes that opportunity away. Like, I would sweat Ingram hurting the bottom line of Kamara more than I would sweat Brown against Gurley or Eckler against Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, though Eckler does have a real share of this offense. I actually think the most interesting play is Joe Mixon at home versus New Orleans, assuming that that's kind of a high scoring game. I think his target upside in this game could like he had 7 targets in that Pittsburgh game. I think we could see something like that for Mixon with AJ Green injured. So I think Mixon probably is. I think Mixon will be undervalued and underowned by the populace this week.
Well, how does Kareem Hunt fit into this mix? Like, being so close in pricing to Kamara, if you had to pick one of them, would it be Hunt or would it be Kamara?
Oh, I would go Kamara. I think that game remains competitive, and whereas I think we're going to see some Chris Conley and some Spencer Ware in this Arizona game.
Yeah, especially with Sammy Watkins dealing with a foot injury too, that it just might open the door for whoever else they want to play. But
I mean, don't get me wrong, Hunt could get 35 in the first half.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult to choose between these very high-end running backs this week because the pros outweigh the cons monumentally for each of the top 5 of them. James White, we get into the situation where he got banged up in the Sunday nighter. It looks like he's going to be fine, but I just don't like playing guys against this Tennessee defense. I know it works out sometimes, but it's really hard to pinpoint who has the big game. It's usually whoever Malcolm Butler is covering ends up having the big game, but they just slog it down so much, and it kind of speaks to what you were talking about with Seattle. And maybe Seattle's not that good, but the brand of offense that they play, where you say they do things backwards, they're highly inefficient, but their commitment to the run takes time off the clock.
Yeah, they limit the plays ran for the opposing team.
And I think Tennessee's going to try to do that same thing to New England. Whether they're successful or not, I don't know, but that's the route that I see them going.
I mean, I think this will be a Sony Michel game, assuming that he gets back healthy, which I think he's had 3 weeks off now. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to be a Sony Michel game.
DJ at Kansas City. Is this the game where he gets his 13 catches or more of the same?
I don't know, man. He only had 4 targets in that San Francisco game, and they won that game, but they were trailing for most of it. I as a real DJ truther from when he was at the University of Northern Iowa, I will not have much DJ this week, if any at all.
So the other 2 in the 6K, you have Fournette coming back and you have Marlon Mack. They're both playing against each other. I don't really know. Like, Mack has done the majority of his scoring the last 2 weeks. Obviously, those big games. And those are games that the Colts won by, I think, 15 and 22 points. They might beat Jacksonville. They're 3.5-point favorites. That I don't think that they absolutely just wax Jacksonville coming out. So that really worries me about the upside that Mack has. And the Jacksonville defense isn't the Jacksonville defense from a year ago. It's still not bad either. And then I look at Fournette. First time he's playing in weeks. No one's going to use him because they're worried about what the role is. How is TJ Yeldon still going to be used? Will he play like 40% of the snaps? Will Carlos Hyde come in to really spell Leonard Fournette so he doesn't get re-injured? I think that Fournette might be like one of the superior GPP plays this week because everyone's going to be off of him. And if Doug Marrone just uses Leonard Fournette like they always use Leonard Fournette, he's going to have 26 carries.
Yeah, I probably will go Fournette on 0 of 10 teams.
Why though?
They traded for Nick Chubb, and Leonard Fournette has...
No, they traded for Carlos Hyde.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, my bad. And Leonard Fournette, I believe, has not had a game that he finished since the playoffs last year. He's a guy who seems like he needs to be 100% to play. and hamstring injuries. The hamstring injuries are like one of the most re-injured parts of the body for football players. They like, even if they're good to go in the game, they pull up lame at like a pretty significant clip. I don't see any reason to play him this week. I think the running back player pool is pretty strong. It's in this mid tier. There are like 5 guys I would rather play.
All right, so in the mid tier, when we drop below $6,000, who are you targeting right away?
Right away, Tevin Coleman. He worked more than Ito last week. Had an 18% target share of the Atlanta offense. As I mentioned, I think Sony is back this game. I think this is definitely a ball control kind of 2-touchdown game for him. Tariq Cohen, way better upside for tournaments than Leonard Fournette has.
Hold on a second. The upside, the absolute ceiling for someone like Cohen could be higher because of the long touchdowns. But let's not overlook the fact that if Jacksonville gets inside the 5-yard line, their play is going to be turn around and hand it to Leonard Fournette. He does and Sony Michel is probably a better example. The Sony Michel's upside might be higher because he'll get those touchdowns. But when we talk about guys like Coleman and guys like Cohen, like Fournette's touchdown upside is significantly higher than them.
How many rushing touchdowns do you think Jacksonville running backs have this year?
Fournette hasn't played, so I'm going to say like 2.
They have 1.
Yeah, well, Fournette hasn't played.
But what makes Fournette so much different than the other guys in terms of usage? Like I don't get what makes, like, why would you hand the ball to Fournette on the 4-yard line, but you wouldn't hand it to TJ Yeldon on the 4-yard line?
Because that is the history of what Doug Marrone does when Leonard Fournette's in the game. When he is healthy and he is in the game, they turn into Seattle. They just turn around and hand the ball off to Fournette. It makes their offense very one-dimensional, and we've even seen that TJ Yeldon has proven to be more efficient in this offense, and it gives them different looks, but this is what they like to do. I think a lot of it has to do with they like to keep their defense fresh, and that's not been happening this year. And when they were able to use ball control and milk the clock with Leonard Fournette last year, their defense was amazing. Now, their defense is never going to get back to that same level that it was a year ago, but I do think that with a more ball control, try to play lower scoring game type mentality, and we know, Doug Marrone has the quote is, how many times ideally would you pass during a game? 0. They want to run the ball with Fournette. Maybe it's Fournette and Hyde, but all this is baked into Fournette that no one's going to own him.
Yeah, I guess maybe you're right. Maybe Fournette can get like 22 points at like 3% ownership. I'm not interested at all.
I think Sony Michel, with the case that you lay out, is the better. He's sort of like Nick Chubb is sort of like the minor league version. Like there's Fournette, Adrian Peterson, Nick Chubb, and Sony Michel. Those 4 guys are all the same type of guys.
They got blown out last week, like just doors blown off, weren't close at any point, and Chubb had 22 carries. So I think he's probably pretty solid.
Okay. Chris Thompson coming back potentially, and with Adrian Peterson seems relatively unplayable with this offensive line, which probably means he's the best player of the week because everyone's off of him. And he kind of zigzags. When people are on him, he's awful. When people are off of him, he's fantastic. This is not a great matchup. If there's one part of the Tampa defense that isn't just the absolute worst in the league, it is their interior defensive line. So with Chris Thompson, if they do fall behind in this game and he actually is healthy, he could see a ton of receptions here.
Yeah, I would definitely consider Thompson, assuming he's healthy. I haven't played Peterson once this year, and I don't even really feel that bad about it.
I've been playing Peterson a bit. He's one of those guys that just through volume and the potential touchdown upside that he can get there. Like Nick Chubb. Like if Nick Chubb doesn't score a touchdown, he's almost useless.
Yes, yeah. If Nick Chubb doesn't score, you're getting 8 DK points.
Yeah. And that's just not going to be a thing. Jordan Howard's very much the same way. Peterson's the same way. Sony Michel is kind of the same way. He'll backdoor his way into like 2-3 catches, but he's not a focal part of that offense when it comes to the passing game. What about the guys below him like Drake Jones, Rocket Richard, or your main man Duke Johnson? $4,700 going up against Atlanta this week, who cannot stop pass-catching running backs. I feel like it's a trap.
No, Dion Lewis would be the guy I would play here. For sure.
Yeah, is Dion Lewis going to be a trap, though? Because he's going to be super chalky.
He certainly I don't think he is a core play, but out of all of the guys in this range, I am most interested in playing him.
I'll just play, if Chris Carson sits, I'll play Mike Davis 100% of the time. He's $4,300. We saw, is somewhat predicated to with that line, like you said, is at 10 right now. They're on the road. So if they do fall behind in this game, Seattle ran 70 plays last week, which is abnormal for Seattle.
And Mike Davis had 8 targets.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like, he's getting all the work on the ground because it seems like they want no part of Rashad Penny. When they had a chance to use Penny when Carson left the game last week, they just decided, you know what? No thanks. We're only using Mike Davis. He saw over 70% of the snap share overall, and that included when Carson played. That you could see him with like 85% market share of that backfield and like 5-6 catches. Like, that seems like everything that people are projecting onto Dion Lewis this week, that could be Mike Davis.
Yeah, his touchdown equity is probably a little bit lower just because he sucks and because Russell Wilson, is good. But it's going to be very thin between those two, between Mike Davis on the road against the Rams and Dion Lewis at home against a pretty mediocre Patriots defense. Like, the Patriots defense is just so slow. Plus, you got to remember the revenge factor for Dion, man. They probably want to give him the touchdown if they're on like the 2.
There's a lot of baked-in revenge with this Tennessee team against New England. I think Tennessee might win this game.
I mean, the Patriots certainly are not an infallible team. Like, they have big holes in their armor this year.
They do, and it just seems like they've been playing a bunch of high-leverage games in prime time. They're winning. They beat KC, they beat Green Bay, and now they're like in Tennessee, a 1 o'clock game. Like, it just has the makings of a letdown.
Yeah, I mean, I totally buy it. I've been like, the Patriots defense is quite bad, and Brady does not have the fastball that he does. Like, Josh Gordon being added to the team has been huge for him because it kind of makes his numbers look a little bit more explosive. But this Patriots team is not your father's Patriots team.
So anyone below $4,000 you can give any sort of look to, like Nyheim Hines against this Jacksonville team, even with Mac back. If this becomes, let's say Jacksonville jumps up in this game, that could result in a lot of Nyheim Hines. We know how fast Indianapolis plays, that if they're going to pass 50 plus times in this game, you could probably see Hines on the field for a lot of those. Not a ton of upside is the problem, though. Ronald Jones is going to be out. Peyton Barber is dealing with an ankle injury, and if somehow Washington can vault ahead against Tampa, we might see a lot of Jaquiz Rogers on the field, so he's someone to consider. Then Lizzie McGuire down at $3,400. You could talk me into Lizzie. I mean, he looked good last week. He looked better than Crowell, and they're playing the Bills.
Theo would be the guy. He basically came in and played about half his snaps in the slot, half his snaps out of the backfield, had 8 targets in the first game. Without Golden Tate, they are road dogs to a very good Bears defense, I think. I think Riddick is pretty solid here for the DK PPR format.
They did just pick up Bruce Ellington. I'm not sure whether or not he's going to play, but he seems like a very logical choice to really insert into the slot, and maybe that limits what Theo Riddick can do. And the one thing about Elijah McGuire is that, like, he's basically in a 50-50 split. He's not, like, Theo Riddick, all you're really banking on is like 6 catches for 60 yards. If he gets that, you're like, whoa, this is amazing. Maybe he'll sneak into the end zone. But if he doesn't get that, he's useless. At least with McGuire, it seems like now that he's back that at worst he's Bilal Powell, but he could overtake Isaiah Crowell because he's going to get 5 to 10 carries on the ground, and he's going to be used in the receiving game.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe it is McGuire. Because just like, here's the question: do the Jets have a third running back active now? Do they keep Cannon?
Yeah,
they keep Cannon, McGuire, and Crowell all active.
They did last week. I'll bring up the snap shares from last week. I believe it was like, I think Elijah McGuire ended up playing more, but I don't know how much that had.
He did, and Cannon only had 1 target. So like the obvious issue that you're going to run into here is that Crow probably scores the touchdown.
Maybe, but that's not a guarantee though, because even when you look between Powell and Crowell had, I mean, the Jets just don't get in the red zone all that often, so Crowell actually scored a bunch of his touchdowns from out deep. But yeah, like, it's almost like 50-50 in terms of like inside the 10 touches between Powell and Crowell. So if that just gets translated over to Elijah McGuire, then all of a sudden he has, I wouldn't say great touchdown upside, but it's not a huge deterrent like it would be for someone like Theo Riddick.
Yeah, I totally buy that.
So New York Jets last week, let's see, McGuire 55%, Crowell 35%, Cannon 11% of the snaps last week. So it's kind of crazy. It's his first week back, and boom, he's playing over half the snaps. So maybe they want to see what they have in him, because Crowell's not a piece of their future. Powell's not a piece of their future. McGuire may be a piece of their future, at least into next year, if they don't address the running back situation.
Yeah, I think McGuire is a really good tournament play. I'm in on this. This is an official branded play. Good play.
I like it. That means he's going to be so terrible, it's unreal.
Yeah, definitely.
At the top of receiver, we got Julio. He's followed by Michael Thomas coming off that huge game. Devonta Adams against Miami is right after him. He's $7,800. AJ Green, obviously not playing, but then you got Tyler Boyd at $7,500. Tyreek, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans. That's your $7,000 and above. What do we do with Boyd? Because there's two schools of thought, and both can be true.
Lock City.
See, that I feel the same way, but I'm getting a lot of pushback. Be like, well, AJ Green's not playing, so that means Marshawn Lattimore is going to cover him. He's going to get all this extra attention. I don't care about the extra attention. I care about the uptick in volume. Like if you,
I mean, imagine being one of those people who were like, oh, well, Tyler Boyd clearly isn't good enough to. First of all, NFL teams do not double cover. Like if anyone's ever really told you that that's a thing NFL teams do quite often, it's not. It schematically has never made sense. NFL teams, they do it less than 10% of the time. And second of all, Tyler Boyd has just played better than AJ Green all year. And the Saints have given it up to every like Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know what happened to him over the offseason, but they've limited approximately 0 wide receiver ones this year. So like I don't have a shred of concern.
So what do we do with is there value in some of the other Bengals wide receivers? Like, do you take a flyer on John Ross and hope it's a home run?
No, you take the slot dude, Alex Erickson.
I mean, is it going to be Alex Erickson, or are they going to keep Tyler Boyd in the slot and push Josh Malone to the outside?
I mean, I assume we'll definitely get an update about that at some point in the week, but Malone has like barely played this year, and Boyd has done both. All year, he's played outside in 2 wide receiver sets, and then when Ross rotated in, he came into the slot. So he can do either or. I
mean, as we pointed out on the ranking show yesterday, Erickson has the look of a slot receiver.
Right, yeah, he's like a 5'9" white guy.
Yeah, so yeah, he's probably not going to play the outside. Of the very top options, is there any one that you're leaning to outside of Boyd? Like,
yeah, Thomas.
It's Thomas? We don't.
Yeah. Thomas has. Let's see here.
You're not sweating Dez Bryant?
Thomas has 79 targets on the year. His average depth of target is over 10, and he has 70 receptions. This season that Michael Thomas is putting together is unrivaled by any other wide receiver season in terms of efficiency and conversion of targets than anyone's ever had.
Okay, I'm going to throw a little bit of cold water on that. So last week he had the 12 for 15 and 200. It was amazing. Amazing. I tell you, people say very amazing from Michael Thomas. But the 4 games before that, 6 targets, 9 targets, 5 targets, 4 targets. Like, it's not. A lot of what you're putting into this is what he did the first 3 weeks of the season. That built up a lot of good volume for him. But since then, he hasn't been the wide receiver 1 type smash play outside of last week.
So they crushed Minnesota with the turnovers, right? Like they threw 22 times. They played outdoors in Baltimore against what is actually the best defense in the NFL,
which has looked bad the last 3 weeks.
They were completely non-competitive against Washington. I think they got up by 4 scores at one point in that game. They played outdoors against the Giants. And then, of course, every time they've been inside or in a competitive game, he's just crushed, just been annihilating.
So, I mean, what's completely different between them going outdoors to the Giants, who have a terrible defense, and him not posting huge numbers, or him going outside and playing Baltimore and him not posting huge numbers? Now he's outside at Cincinnati this week.
Well, I would not play him in cash, but I will definitely have him in tournaments. But like the Saints outdoors it's a different animal. They look to run more. They look to take shots down the field less. But I think if the overall profile of what Thomas has done suggests that in close games against middling defenses, he's got an outstanding target volume.
What about Keenan Allen at $7,100? No one's gonna play him.
Yeah, I mean, he's touchdown regression is going to come at some point. Like by the way, if you break it down, just how many yards the average NFL wide receiver gets per touchdown, he's owed about 3.5 touchdowns, just like on the wave of regression. So sure, I mean, just kind of matters. It matters how many points the Chargers get up and how aggressive they are in the second half.
I actually think this game stays closer. I like Oakland in the 10. I know that seems counterintuitive.
Yeah, I had Oakland in the 3 against Southern Mississippi's own Nick Mullins.
See, that's what you get for being Johnny Public on that one. The Niners was the play, especially when it started flipping. Like CJ Beathard out, yeah, that's worth 6 points. Come on. But this week, people that like really don't watch Oakland at all. So the one game they've seen of Oakland was that stupid game last Thursday. Now they've had the long week. They're at home. It's a division game. They should be more competitive against the Chargers. And the Chargers,
when is the last time the Raiders were in a competitive game?
I mean, they hung.
Like when is the
they hung with Indy for a while, and then it got away from them at the end because Indy scored on legit every drive. But the Chargers.
So the last time they were competitive was the Cleveland game, though.
Yes, but the Chargers. Big fans of playing down to crappy competition.
You make an excellent point. I don't know, man. It just like, and it's really hard to do this, but it just seems like no one on that team cares. Carr, like, I don't know. And it's really, this is like analysis that never gets you anywhere. So I should probably do away with it. But it just truly seems like that's a team that's given up.
I mean, you and Tim Andercust feel the same way. He has claimed that they have quit. And every time he says that, the team tends to...
Yeah, okay. Chargers, Raiders plus 10.
And that line's probably only going to grow. Like, I should mention that the odds and lines are subject to change. See website for actual odds if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So,
yeah, if it gets to 13, I'll probably just be back on the death train.
I don't think it's going to go to 13. Like, it probably gets up to 11.5, 12 maybe, I'm thinking.
Let me see what it is in the super contest, because if it's
10, it's 10 in the super contest. I believe.
I'm gonna have to really think about. Yeah, it is 10. I'm gonna have to really think about that.
It's on my short list of what's gonna make it into my 5 this week.
You know what's a great super contest pick is the Bengals plus 5 probably.
I like the Bengals this week too. I'm just looking at the money percentage right now, and not a lot of people have bet that game, but right now 83% of the cash is on the Chargers, 90% of the bets are on the Chargers.
Yeah, no one wants a Raiders ticket.
Exactly, and that leads me to believe that Vegas is getting beat up recently. With all the money, like all the square money has won. Heard
it was like one of the worst weekends they've ever had last week.
Well, because all the chalk hit, all the big public bets won the early and later set of games, and then when you got to the Sunday night game, whether it was Packers or whether it was the Patriots, people had parlays with both those teams on it. So those are big wins. Like when the Steelers come through and, Kansas City covers. Like the two big ones that covered were Kansas City and Chicago. Like I thought that one of those dogs would cover the number and then it just busts up everyone's parlay and teasers and whatever. But they didn't. They both covered the spread and both covered parlays and teasers. So that's a big win for the public against Vegas. Eventually that's going to flip back because Vegas doesn't lose very often.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right.
I think long term that if you fade the public, you're going to end up being a winner. If you only look at the past 2 weeks of results, you're probably a big loser. And that's not a great way to assess sports betting. Just what happened last week.
No, it's generally not.
And it's the same for DFS too. If we just assess by what happened last week and not take a longer, unless like legit information changes, like we're talking about this Tyler Boyd situation where, hey, one guy is gone. How does that affect everyone else? That's real analysis.
Tyler Boyd, just a baller, man. Just a stone cold baller.
I tend to agree, but the counter argument to that is maybe Tyler Boyd is not as good as he's seen because teams worry about AJ Green and he's like a 1A and he's able.
Defense is so hard to play in the NFL now. I just don't even really think that stuff like that even applies to how you know how hard it is to play defense right now, man. You can't touch any wide receiver until they already have gotten off the line. If your arm makes contact with their arm while the ball is coming into you, immediate pass interference. Like it is just hard to play defense.
Yeah, this is true. So the rest of the receivers, the 6K range, you got Edelman, Cooks, Woods, Cup, Jarvis Landry, who is just a perpetual disappointment every single week.
Yeah, I'm clicking the X on him this week.
Josh Gordon is at $6,000 as well. Do you like any of these guys? Because I always just side with Cooper Kupp when it comes to the Rams receivers because they use him in the red zone.
I got Cooks.
You got Cooks? I just like Cooks is probably like Woods is probably the best floor guy. Cooks probably has the most upside because of the long touchdowns, but Kupp is the most likely to have a 3-touchdown game.
The last 2 weeks, my cash lineup has been so bad after the noon games that I've had to swap to Cooks both times over Woods. And after watching him play in those games, I'm just like, man, Cooks is just a different class of player. than Woods and Kupp. He really is.
Yeah, but I mean, if we talk about like the shifting coverage and like Kupp legit gets the 4th tier of coverage when anyone plays the Rams.
Kupp gets covered by like the linebackers.
Yeah, saying that's one of the reasons that they use him in the red zone so much is that he's just open. So I like the touchdown upside for Kupp. So I mean, I don't play any of this cash game that you talk about. That sounds boring.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty fun. Last week, what happened for me is my cash lineup actually got ruined by my tournament lineup. I had Michael Thomas in cash, but I had the Rams onslaught in tournaments, and I had a Cooper Kupp, Jared Goff, Cooks lineup. It was all very good, but that last Michael Thomas touchdown, it got me there in cash, but it took away all my tournament winnings. Ridley,
Hilton, Fitz, Marv, Sammy Watkins, Sanu, Doug Baldwin, Galladay, Allen Robinson probably returning, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling are the $5,000 tier of wide receivers. Is this a week to give a look back to one of the Lions receivers now that everyone will be off of them?
Yeah, I got Galladay and Valdez-Scantling in my tournament pool. None of the rest of these guys. No, probably Hilton in like 15%.
Hilton's always a good play at home, I feel, even in bad matchups.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Ramsey, just garbage player this year. Not good.
I don't know if he's been a garbage player. I think that's a bit strong.
I will here. While you vamp a little bit, I'll pull up his PFF grade.
Okay. I know he gave up a touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins, but other than that, I think he's been pretty solid. But I could be wrong on that.
I could be wrong by this, but I'm pretty certain he's been dunked on all year long.
All right, well, you bring that up. The $4,000 receivers, Cobb, Kirk, the Sledgehammer, Taylor Gabriel, he's in there. Deshaun. You got the Jacksonville guys, all 3 of them. Traquan, Tyler Lockett, Corey Davis, Corey Davis is, if everyone's going to use Dion Lewis, I'll just pivot to Corey Davis at $4,500 and have no problems with that against New England. And also
Corey Davis is like the lock of the week. You don't think people will play him?
I don't think that people will want to play both Lewis and Davis.
Oh, I mean, when I went to go set lineups this week, Corey Davis was the first guy I put in my placeholder.
Yeah, as he should be. I think he's in a great spot here. He's going to get the ball.
People got to be really bad. You would have to be really bad at DFS to not play Corey Davis this week.
But I think that if you do, like, would you want to use Corey Davis and Dion Lewis in the same lineup?
I probably won't have much Dion Lewis because my running back player pool is going to lead me to a little bit higher than that range. But yeah, I mean, I would.
I like Christian Kirk.
I would probably play Lockett over Kirk.
No, the volume's just not there for Lockett. Like, he might end up with a big score, but he's a 0.
Yeah, he just scores touchdowns.
Yeah, but he didn't last week. What, do you have 2 points?
Oh, actually, no. I would play D.D. Westbrook, who is completely overtaken Keelan Cole in the pecking order, and who's like actually pretty good.
I mean, Moncrief's probably 1, Didi's 1A. Chark might be the play there because he's getting more involved. He's past Keelan Cole too.
Yeah, and Moncrief is the air yards guy, and it looks like Westbrook is like the slot gadget guy.
You find those numbers on Ramsey yet?
Yeah. So Ramsey has a worse grade than he had last year, but
what was he, number 1 last year?
Yeah, but if you look at his week by week grades, bad against Tennessee, burnt up against the Jets, burnt against Dallas, and burnt against Philly, but I hate when PFF does this. What do you think his grade was against DeAndre Hopkins if you had to guess?
Probably an A+.
He was a 99 even though he got beat by Hopkins. That's obviously
Hopkins put up like 5 for 51 and a touchdown on him or something like that.
Yeah,
if that's what you limit DeAndre Hopkins to, that is a 99 grade.
Man, I guess maybe this is not something to do with me, but this is something to do with the grading system, and maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean Ramsey significantly worse than he was.
So what's his grade this year?
His grade is a 70, and last year he looks like for most of the year he was about an 85.
Okay, so
last year he has no games above 100 this year, and he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games above 100 last year.
All right, so where does he rank among cornerbacks?
Well, now we got to go by position. I actually maybe I'm wrong, and I just have a skewed sense from fantasy. So this could be a useful thing for me. All right, defense summary, cornerback This is thrilling for everyone. He's actually still high amongst cornerbacks in the defense total grade. In coverage grade, he's also still high. Oh no, I'm on last season.
Jesus Christ.
This is amazing radio.
I mean, for the podcast audio version, which everyone should go subscribe to, it's definitely thrilling stuff. He is not in the top 50 of cornerbacks this year. Really?
In coverage grade.
See, that really surprises me. So maybe you were dead on with this. Maybe my eyes are lying to me, and my perception is lying to me.
He is 45th in total defensive grade, just above his teammate Quentin Meeks.
I don't even know who that is.
Who has a better coverage grade? I don't know, man. It just seems like these things happen to elite defenses. It's just hard to be like, defense is so hard. It's just hard to do it every year and make it repeatable.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Jacksonville defense, the pass rush is down, and that was so important to a lot of their coverage schemes last year that it was hard to really allow receivers time to develop any sort of routes against Jalen Ramsey because there was guys in every quarterback's face 100% of the time. Now, when the pass rush is a bit lax, and yeah, I guess you're not going to look as good. Good to know. Tyrell Williams, you loving the Gazelle?
The Gazelle. I mean, he's like always a good sprinkle play. I think maybe I skipped over MVS a little bit too quickly, though.
No, you just said lock him in. That was good enough for me. I like him too.
Yeah, I mean, just like, I need the people to know this dude's a real baller. And now that he's not having to compete or split with Geronimo Allison at all, I need to reiterate like how good of a play he is this week.
I like Kirk more than Lockett because of the volume and the big play potential, but I'm not diametrically opposed to Chad Williams either for like no price whatsoever. I just think that if you have a big play guy against this Chiefs defense, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. What do you think about running back this Mo Harris play?
It feels like a good fade.
He's like that. Like it's one of those things that kind of sucks where it's like, if he wouldn't have smashed last week, he would have been like a pretty good play this week at his ownership, just because that team is going to throw so much this game.
How much is Harris? He's 39.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a horrible play in terms of how owned he's going to be.
Like, I went through this last week. Like, I played no Cortland Sutton. I played no DJ Moore. There was another one right in that range that was super chalky. Like, chalk, cheap receivers. I want to say...
Traquan.
I played Traquan. I thought he would be the pivot play, but people ended up owning him anyway. And he scored a touchdown and barely paid off his price. So he was also not a good play. But these cheap chalk wide receivers, I feel, have like a 2% hit rate. They're such good fades.
Like, there are so many wide receivers under like 5K who can be good every week just because of how the NFL works now, that like playing the chalk at that position is probably always bad.
Yeah, like if it's the difference between a chalk $3,900 receiver and a chalk $3,900 running back, I'll probably play the chalk $3,900 running back 80% of the time, and I'll play the chalk wide receiver $3,900 wide receiver 0% of the time.
I mean, I would disagree, like the specific circumstances for last week, just because Sutton is such a baller. Like that
sets up to be a perfect fade, though.
I get you and I always approach it from like different perspectives, though, because like you're just playing tournaments, and I'm like 80% cash in single entry tournaments.
Hump Daddy.
He's actually probably really strong this week, and like I don't know, he probably won't be owned at all.
Yeah, no one will believe what he does. I actually think that John Ross is worth, if you play 10 lineups, throw him in 1 or 2. Remember how I
agree on Ross.
Remember how I used to love Ted Ginn all the time?
Yeah, he's that now.
He's that guy that it just takes one play, he pays off, and if you hit him twice, he wins you the. He's the guy.
You should love DJ Moore now, because DJ Moore is like totally
I do, but he's not on the slate. He's on the Thursday game. He's on the showdown.
He's like oh man, that's going to be a fun showdown slate. Panthers showdown. There's so many guys who can score touchdowns.
You're doing Patreons for all these showdown slates, right?
Confirmed. People love them, man. I'm like very surprised. Like people like that more than like the regular take cast.
I'm so shitty at showdown slates. It's incredible.
Well, I just keep getting lucky with like. I just like Tyreek Hill and the captain in that Patriots game was like a big call that I made. And then like 100% Cordell Patterson in that Monday night game or the Sunday night game, the Packers Patriots game. So I've gotten just like kind of lucky with a couple of those big like island game hits.
All right. If we're going to go down into this range, and this is where the contest comes in this week. So again, smash the like button, which you should be doing anyway. Come on, people. Let's get it together.
We skipped over Jordy.
We're not. We'll get to him. Jordy is fucking terrible. Never played Jordy Nelson. Boom.
He's so bad.
There's your analysis. Hit the like button. Leave your DK handle in the comment section and tell me your favorite receiver from below $4,000. Do you know who mine is? He's $3,300.
$3,300. Okay, let me look at all the guys here, and I bet I can guess. Brandon LaFell.
Brandon LaFell Sexwell. There's the guy you want to play instead of Jordy Nelson.
Well, actually, you would play LaFell over Roberts?
Yes. LaFell plays 91% of the snaps.
LaFell just always seems like he pops up with the touchdowns. I don't know. That's my professional analysis that I get paid for to do.
LaFell is just the only one of these guys who's on the field all the time.
I would play Nelson before I would play LaFell.
No, play LaFell.
The best guy down here though is Chris Conley. They're not going to play Watkins with a foot issue when he's had that injury in the past and a 17-point spread.
But the thing is, even if Conley gets the start, does that even mean he does anything? Like, it's not like Watkins is like a smash play every week.
It just so it just condenses the amount of guys that they're going to have on the field a little bit more. Because if people remember, they were playing DeAnthony Thomas about 15 snaps per game. So that already transitioned to Conley. Conley has had a higher snap share since that happened. So you move Conley and Watkins out, and then you take into account the fact that Tyreek had a groin thing 2 weeks ago. And I think in the second half, like Conley might play every snap in a 20-point game.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I still prefer LaFell there. I just think that's a guaranteed passing script the entire time, because even if it's a 20-point game, Conley might be on the field and they're like, hey, Spencer Ware, have some carries.
Oh, Spencer Ware. We didn't talk about this at the running back player pool, but if you are like, if you're a real game.
Okay, so if you're Siege, you can play Spencer Ware.
No, I think Spencer Ware is better than a Siege level play. I think he is
You're playing backup running backs.
I think he is a legitimately good game theory play this week.
I don't know, man. I see how he gets there, but no. Like, why would I play Spencer Ware?
He is one of the few guys under 4K who legit has like a 25-point game in him.
Yeah, but he's going to hit that 25-point game 1% or 0.5% of the time.
No, he hits it at a higher range than that.
Really? Playing backup to Kareem Hunt.
Okay, how often do you think that the Chiefs cover the spread at home against this Arizona team?
And what's the spread, 16.5?
I think it's 17.5.
17? How often? They probably cover that at a 55% clip.
So if you think they cover that at 55.5% clip, you either think one of two things. You either think that Kareem Hunt plays 3.5 quarters and smashes, or you think that Spencer Ware gets 15 interactions in the second half.
I don't know. I don't understand how that math adds up. I think they cover that 55% of the time. They cover that
because to cover
yeah,
a spread
you would be at 20 points and you score all the points, and then it's a non-competitive game.
The backups to cover that spread, the backups have to score.
But yeah, no, that's not necessarily true, because Arizona might just score 3 points. Like the starters for the Chiefs are going to score 30, and that might be enough to cover the 17.5.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. It seems like a ludicrous play.
It's definitely a ludicrous play. Ware not a core play for me or anything, but I think it warrants.
You should play Spencer Ware in cash.
Imagine the balls. I'm probably playing Conley in cash.
Just play LaFell.
If Watkins
you want 12 points, play Brandon LaFell, and he has a chance for a touchdown. He has 6 for 60 written all over him at $3,300.
What did he get? What did he get in the San Francisco game?
He
got 5.
Did he get 5? I actually didn't like him there because I thought Sherman would be on him, and Sherman was on him.
Yeah. No, I like Conley more if Watkins is out than I like LaFell. Feel pretty good about that.
Okay. If we get word that Malone is starting on the outside, or they're pushing Boyd outside and playing Erickson.
If Erickson is the slot starter, he is the lock.
Yeah, he's $3,400. I like that a lot too.
Yeah, Dalton loves to feed his slot boys.
The move just might be to take Secret of the Uzuma and just
Yeah, I mean Uzomah also very and people will be off him because he had that 0 before the bye.
The other guys to look for on this list here, we're like Taja Sharp if he's healthy, and Tywan Taylor is out against the Patriots. Not the worst gamble, I don't think. And the Chark attack. If just take the cheapest of the Jags receivers, the guy with the big play potential. They're starting to use him more.
Tajay actually seems like kind of he could be a guy who could like randomly pay off with like 8 targets.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't use Corey Davis, you could just use Tajay and see if that works out.
Yeah.
All right. Quarterbacks, where are you
going? Fitzpatrick.
The Fitz magic again?
I mean, just like at what point, like he just is never going to not hit.
I used him last week. It was fantastic. 59, like luck at 55 seems like such a lock.
Yeah, okay. It's luck or Fitzpatrick. I mean, and obviously I would love to get Mahomes in. I don't think that this game like stays competitive enough.
Yep, that hasn't mattered for him.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, there's like some opportunity. If he only gets 25, like you actually are pretty tilted about having him because there's some opportunity cost this week.
So like Bortles at 49 against Indy, like he tends to light up Indy.
Oh,
like
it's just like I don't want to be on. I don't want to be on record as being like, yeah, no, play Bortles.
What about Sanchez? He's down at $4,500 against the Bills. That's his new name, by the way. You can either refer to him as Safe Space Sam or Sanchez.
No, I think that if you think that the Jets smash, I think that
don't. I don't think the Jets are terrible. I know the Bills are terrible. The Jets are also terrible.
I actually, you know what? And I know that this is like a ridiculous thing. I actually, for once and for all, to end the argument, I would love for the Bills to play a college team.
They would absolutely annihilate them.
They would, and I think it would just be fantastic to get that on record forever, for everyone to see what happens when like this Bills team. I'll do a little bit of searching here, but I want to know just how big what am I trying to say?
The disparity between them and the second worst offensive all time.
Right. Yeah.
It's like they're like 50% worse than the current worst offensive all time.
It's like they gain like 3 yards a play. It's wild, man.
So someone, I forget who I was listening to that brought it up, but either way, it was how many players would you need to add to the Bills team to make them like favored in a game? I think the answer to that question is 1. If you gave them an extra player on both sides of the ball, they'd be good.
You know, I think that's a very interesting thing about the NFL. It's just like really in one offseason, you can do enough roster turnover to make your team good. If you have a good draft and you get like a couple really good guys who impact the passing game, like you get a good tackle, maybe pick up an upgrade at center, and you have 3 good starting corners. I think you can pretty much make most NFL teams competitive with that formula.
It's pay down week at quarterback though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just ran optimal lineups before we started the show.
Does Mariota come up in all of them?
No.
Really? Because I feel like he's going to be the guy that he's $4,700 coming off a game where he looked like okay on Monday night against the Patriots. People are going to love Mariota in this spot.
So I hate this first lineup that was generated for me. There's like a 0% chance I play it, but Mahomes was in it.
He honestly, just taking the upside of Mahomes, like if you play like let's say 10 tournament lineups and you use them in 2 or 3, I've been doing it every week.
If you're a tournament player, he should be just you don't even think about it. You just stack that Chiefs offense.
Yeah, you just always put you always put Mahomes with Hill and Kelsey. Like it has to be a stack that you use every week.
Yeah, like I just like it makes you bad at what you do if you don't have that.
It has the most upside of any. It's almost like running the Rams through. It's harder to pick the right pieces of that offense that you want to correlate with Jared Goff, because sometimes it could be Goff and Gurley. And then you're like, oh, this is stupid. I have Cooper Kupp and he has 3 points. Not that happens all that often, but the Chiefs offense, well, it can be spread out and like randos can catch touchdowns. The good guys tend to do the big things.
Well, no, what you do with the Rams every week is you do Goff, Cooks, and whichever one of the other receivers you like. That's what I do every week.
That could potentially work out. Other quarterbacks, I like Trubisky. I think if Luck gets too chalky, which I don't think he will. I like Luck the best, but I like Trubisky.
No, people see Jacksonville and they just shut it down.
Yeah, they've been slower and the volume hasn't been there since Marlon Mack has come back, but they also played the Bills and Raiders in those games. So
I like Dalton theoretically, but he like it seems like they run enough near the goal line that that he just never gets 30.
Yeah, I don't love Dalton. Like, at least with luck, you might pick up some rushing yards. That's why I like Trubisky, honestly. If Detroit can score on Chicago's defense, and this is one of the things, like we talked about with sports gambling, like, everyone's just going to bet Chicago last week because Detroit looked fucking awful against Minnesota, which they did. They looked horrible. But if Detroit can be, okay this week and be somewhat competitive, Trubisky could go off with the rushing yards, potential rushing touchdowns, and the fact he may actually have to pass in this game.
Yeah, Gabriel is he's like loving the Gabriel play this week.
I think I like Miller just because he's cheaper and he keeps scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, I like all of them but Allen Robinson.
Yeah, but I think Allen Robinson being back actually helps these guys.
Right, yeah, just saying I would not play Robinson.
Yeah.
He's like, he and Jordan Howard just so don't fit that offense. It gets so interesting. Like Miller and Gabriel and Cohen and Burton are so good at moving around and creating space. And then Robinson and Howard are like from like 1988 NFL offenses.
So let's toss Mahomes out here for a second. So if it's not Mahomes, is there any other $6,000 quarterback you think you would go to even in tournaments? Because I'm not sold on Rodgers in that game. That could be a running game. Breeze outdoors. Not that I hate Breeze outdoors, but I don't love the spot. Matt Ryan against Cleveland's kind of intriguing, I think.
Yeah, Matt Ryan. I think our boy, my boy Baker. I think he's kind of interesting.
Well, he's not in the 6,000s. When I ask you about the 6,000s, you can't pick a guy who's at 5,600.
I'm just giving my thoughts in general. I probably will have like a Breeze Thomas team, but yeah, probably just Mahomes would be the only guy. Mahomes and Breeze, I guess.
If you're gonna pay up, yeah. I'm gonna build lineup. I'll have Mahomes lineups like I do every week in tournaments. But other than that, I like Luck. I like Trubisky. I think those are the two that I would go to, and Fitzmagic, just because play Fitzmagic. It's great.
Yeah, I'll probably just play Fitzmagic and cash. Fitz or Luck.
Just don't play cash. Quit cash. Quit
No,
it.
dude.
Quit it.
You don't understand how bad people are at NFL cash games.
I don't know. I'm bad, and I don't play NFL cash games, so what does that tell you?
Really, just as long as you're not playing in the higher levels of any sport, people are bad at lower dollar levels. They make bad suboptimal choices.
Well, I'll throw this out here too. I think I mentioned this on Monday's show, but I'll throw it out here again for people to really digest this. Remember when the DraftKings app went down for like 10 minutes on Sunday and like people lost their minds?
Yeah, it was miserable.
So I received 3 separate emails, not tweets, not Facebook messages, emails to the patmayoexperience@gmail.com asking me why I'm not currently working on updating the app to fix it.
Well, why weren't you?
I guess that's a very solid counterpoint.
Pat, those are the people who are taking your games.
I guess that's probably yes, that would lean you towards your point being correct, yes.
Like, and I don't even say this to be mean. It's just people make like emotional fear-based decisions. Like, Gurley will be like 35% in cash this week because he only got 19 last week.
You think so?
Yeah, this is how, like, obviously every dollar level you go up higher, like the lineups get better and decisions like that happen less and people rely on the data. But like at like $5 and $10 double ups and 3-mans, like there are some really bad lineups out there.
I don't want to double my money though. I want to win $1 million.
Yeah, and I think that's like a goal that more people have in DFS now than ever is to win $1 million or whatever. And I totally like, sure, I'm not gonna hate against that. I think that's maybe even a more profitable way to go than just grinding away cash games.
I don't know if it's a more profitable strategy. Like, you're actually grinding this stuff out to make money. I'm playing DraftKings for fun.
Right. Well, and the edge is just like the edge is so low, even against people who play bad. Like, even against people who play bad, a good lineup in NFL is probably 60-40. Whereas like when you realize your equity, Pat, you'll win 5 figures minimum. So like when I realize my equity, it's not nearly as good.
Interesting. Let's move to tight ends. Kelsey, 7K. Gronk, 5.6, probably. Would you play Gronk in a lineup in case he plays? Because no one. He will be like... What?
Oh, did DraftKings add right tackle eligibility? I just like
Harsh.
Gronk is dust, man. No, like no, thank you.
Okay.
0% will I be playing Gronkowski.
OJ Howard, Jared Cook, Jimmy Graham, Jordan Reed, Jack Doyle, Njoku, Burton, Hooper. I'm just looking at it like I play the same 2 tight ends every week. I play OJ Howard and I play Njoku and I play Chris Herndon in the 4th. Those are the 3
Doyle,
guys. Why Doyle?
Because Doyle is like combination third down running back and tight end. Like he's so slow and so bad, and it just doesn't matter. He just gets all these 7-yard targets from Andy Luck.
I think Uzomah is the play here. 3,700.
Yeah, Uzomah's very good, I think. My tight end pool this week in tournaments will be Travis Kelce, Jack Doyle, CJ Uzomah, and probably a sprinkle of some Burton.
I don't envision myself using Kelce in any lineup that I don't have Mahomes in.
No, he's not nearly as good as a one-off. I really wish that I could just find a way. Maybe I'll gotta find a punt somewhere so that I can play the Jets defense. I was hoping that there would be like a really good cheap tight end, but there does not seem to be.
Herndon's really the only one. Herndon does stuff every single week. I think he's 3. Did he 3x last week? What was he? 4 for 71 or 4 for 57 or something? He came close because he was only $3,000. He's 3,100.
He actually, yeah. I mean, he's not bad. Maybe I'll just mash in some Herndon.
Yeah, I mean, Herndon's hit 3x, I think, 4 consecutive weeks or more. That's not bad. What about, like, instead of Doyle, because people will be on Doyle, and everyone's, like, off Ebron, could you go just back to Ebron at 35?
Yeah, I mean, he's only playing, like, 25% of the snaps now, but he could score twice.
Yeah, I'm going to say, but he plays every red zone snap, and that's huge.
Right. Yeah. Sure. I mean, I wouldn't say that's bad, per se. I probably won't. He won't be in my pool. What I like to do at tight end, because it's such a bad position and no one has any confidence in who they're projecting, I generally just put a tight end in from the game that I'm stacking. So, like, for example, if I want to stack this Arizona-Kansas City game, but I'm doing it with Hunt and Tyreek.
You'll take Ricky Seals-Jones?
Yeah, Seals-Jones. Or if I'm doing this New Orleans-Cincinnati game and I know that Uzomah is going to be popular, I'll go Ben Watson. And, so like this can go for any of these games. Like tight end is a position that's so bad. And like, who is anyone who is Kelce and Howard the only ones who've been consistent all year, basically?
Yeah.
And I guess Ebron when Doyle was out.
And Howard's really only consistent because of the touchdowns. Other than that, like, he's not putting up gaudy yardage stats. Right.
So it's just like, what's the point of even trying to accurately project that? Why don't you just like you bake in some upside of like a really high scoring game or of overtime or of like getting a 2-point conversion? Like I pretty much my tight end correlation is just like, who do I have in the rest of this lineup? How do they add to the positive correlation?
So stacks aside, I think just independently, if I'm using tight ends, I'll use Njoku, Uzomah, and Herndon, those 3, and I might mix in some Ricky Seals-Jones just because that actually is a pretty good spot. If I like, it depends on how much like Christian Kirk that I end up using. If I scale back some Christian Kirk, I might use some Ricky.
Yeah, you know who is good is Hooper.
Is he?
Yeah, he's got some like wild target games, and he's pretty good in the red zone too, because they obviously aren't using Julio there.
If Dez ends up playing this week for the Saints, do you think that
who play Watson?
Is that who he takes? That has to be who he takes away from, right?
Yeah, he becomes the tight end, and Traquan, by the way, gonna lose snaps to Dez. People are gonna tilt about it, but it's a real thing.
Yeah. Do you think Dez?
But Watson basically is like not Watson becomes like Zach Line, like he's a situational player with Dez now.
I actually thought that Ben Watson's been looking pretty good this year.
Pretty spry for like someone who's 47 and playing tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, and having twins too.
I believe Ben Watson has a Super Bowl ring from like the 2005 Patriots.
Yeah, well, he entered the league as a Patriot, I believe.
I got to go look this up.
He was.
What year do you think Ben Watson was born?
I'm gonna say 1978.
1980, man.
1980.
He tore
his Achilles
knee last year.
He tore his Achilles last year. Yeah.
He does. Super Bowl champion.
New
England Patriots.
Is that his only one?
2004. Yeah.
I believe he also scored 50 out of 50 on the Wonderlic.
I mean, that could be true.
Smart.
Let me.
Smart.
I'll command F. Yeah, 48 on the Wonderlic.
Yeah, smartest man in football. Ben Watson.
37 years old, tight end in the NFL.
Still playing well?
Wow, dude. I played him some last week. He was in my GPP article last week.
Oh, was he?
He was. My tournament article had a really good week last week.
Defenses. Let's talk about a few of these. The Bears, most expensive. Chargers, number 2. Jets, Chiefs, Bills, Packers, Skins, Jags, Colts. Where are you paying for at defense here? Because I'm looking at it. I really like the Packers defense, but the Packers are 3,100. I feel like I can afford that.
I just go every week. What I do in tournaments is I just play whoever's fit with whatever I built with the rest of my lineup, or I play the defense against the Bills.
But the Jets D is expensive.
Doesn't matter. This is a defense. This is a defense that will get you a minimum of 15 with a ceiling of 30.
The Bills could be super sneaky here, and everyone will just play the Jets.
Oh, Bills D, sure, but I don't put a ton of thought into defensive correlation other than trying to get to the defense against the Bills. Nathan Peterman is the worst quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah, that could be pretty accurate.
So, no, I looked it up. So only one other guy in the history of the NFL has a worse adjusted yards per attempt, but he threw more touchdowns than Peterman has. Oh. So I think it's safe to say Peterman has the belt of being the worst.
Any Lions D26? I'm looking for a cheap D. I always like a cheap D, but I can't find it. So really,
got cheap Ds. I am playing this week. Colts at 2,800.
That's not cheap.
The Rams at 2,400. Think that's it's just pretty easy. Russell Wilson, he runs around, extends plays. Those can turn into sacks and turnovers. And if you think that line's accurate, they should have to throw a lot. You get a lot of throws. Good things happen. Probably I could see playing
the Bucks would be the one that I would think.
I could see playing the Bucks. They're just they're so bad.
But as D's that you actually like, I like the Packers at 3,100. I don't think I'm going to be alone on that, but I just think that's a perfect situation where you have a really good pass rush going up against Brock Osweiler. That makes sense.
I just play defenses against Peterman.
Jets,
I'm not even being glib. I just think Peterman is so bad. So bad that he
has he been confirmed as the starter yet?
Let's see. Let's see what's up with Josh Allen.
Yeah, because what if Josh Allen's back? Let's just throw that scenario out.
Oh, it doesn't matter to me. Josh Allen does not give up the pick sixes as much, but he takes more sacks than Peterman does.
Do you know who else takes sacks and loves throwing picks? Sam Ches.
I'm not ready to write Darnold off yet.
No, his name isn't Darnold. It's Sanchez.
I'm not ready to write Sam Sanchez off yet. I think there's some ceiling there. I think a better offensive coordinator and some healthy wide receivers could do him a lot of good. I'm actually kind of encouraged with how much he has chosen to push the ball down the field, even if those have resulted in a lot of turnovers. I think that was a big knock on him coming in, was just that he wasn't going to push the ball down the field at all.
Well, he could be colorblind. That could be a thing.
Could be a thing. Obviously for him to be good, he has to write off. He has to fix the interceptions. If he doesn't, he'll be, his ceiling if he doesn't fix the interceptions is like Bill's Fitzpatrick.
Oh, that's actually not so bad. It would earn him a lot of money.
Oh, he's good. He will, unlike I think Rosen and Allen, I think they have the potential to just totally flame out and not be career guys. But I think Darnold to me, the most likely outcome is sort of like a Fitzpatrick Orton sort of career where he starts for quarterback needy teams and then he ends up backing up, kind of after he turns 30.
I think Rosen's going to be good.
I think Rosen just has a very wide range of outcomes, whereas I think Darnold I don't think has as wide of a range.
Well, I guess we'll see. Stacks for the week. If we look at some of the over-unders, I'm looking at it right now for the main slate. The highest one is Saints-Bengals. That feels like an under, doesn't it? Of 54?
No, I don't think that's an under. The Bengals can score, man.
Yeah. The other high
28-25 gets it there.
Yeah. The second highest one is 52 Bucks Skins.
Not taking a Bucks under, that's for sure.
Even
Not gonna get me into that.
Even against the Skins?
No.
40,
Washington, you can't. People just overvalue these defenses. They look good until they play an offense that stops running, and just every defense will look good if you run the ball against them.
Chiefs and Cardinals is 49.5 over under, which would put the implied team total.
That's crazy, man. That's like they want you to. I think they want you to take the under.
Maybe, but like, are we doing it completely wrong if we just don't stack that game or just stack Chiefs?
No, I think you totally got to get some Ricky Seals-Jones, some DJ, some Christian Kirk, just because, I mean, like the Chiefs defense, not only are they not very good, but how hard do you think these guys try on defense when they're up 28-0?
Yeah. Do you see, like, out of all the stacks, game stacks in particular, is there any one that you really like that you're like, yeah, I'm definitely stacking that game, and then I'll figure out.
Oh, Jacksonville, Indianapolis.
Really?
Yeah, because the Jacksonville defense is way overrated. The Colts defense is not very good, and all of the pieces from that game are cheap. So you can stack that game with Gurley or Kamara or Melvin Gordon or Julio Jones. Like you can use that game to stack and get your exposure to the expensive guys you like.
All right, I can dig that. It's tough to figure out which of the pieces that you need from that game.
Well, you go Luck Hilton on one of them, and then you go. And then you can play, one of the Jacksonville wide receivers. If your take is Fournette, you would go, Bortles, Fournette, Westbrook with Hilton coming back.
I don't know if I like Bortles, Fournette, Westbrook. I just feel like Bortles and Fournette don't correlate.
Or I mean, maybe you play Yeldon.
No, I wouldn't play Yeldon. I'm playing the backup running back for the Jags.
Pass catching though, I think Nyheim Hines in those stacks pretty interesting.
I mean,
Nyheim Hines is
I like Nyheim Hines, but since Mack has come back, he's an absolute non-factor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. He hadn't done anything.
So maybe you do like Luck, Doyle, bring it back with. I don't think.
Yeah,
you need
Luck, Doyle, Hilton, Westbrook,
or Fournette.
Yeah, or Fournette. Either way.
Yeah, I don't mind those ones so much.
Or Moncrief. Moncrief could get like a 75-yard touchdown.
Oh, so could Chark.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you need like 20, so a little bit more than that.
Yeah, but he's playing more than Keelan Cole now, so maybe he's just.
I mean, Keelan Cole is dust.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Davis, pimp the podcast.
The Takecast. It's really good. You can find it on iTunes for free, and if you really like it, you can get more of it on Patreon.com/Takecast. It's kind of about sports, but it's more just about life, living in our little niche of the world where we focus on projecting outcomes of all sorts of different things and how we can make more money. It's a critically acclaimed podcast, I would say, Pat.
This is true. I do enjoy it. I mean, that's how I'm going to start describing my show. If people ask me, it's very good. That's just it sells itself. I say that to people like in real life when they like kind of ask what you do, and I'm like, oh, I work in sports, but I also host this podcast, and they're like, oh, what's it about? And I just say it's a very good podcast. I'm 10 minutes into the DC one from today, but does Draft Cheat get into changing his Twitter avatar to troll people?
He does. This DC episode, if you guys like, it's everything you've ever wanted to hear him talk about on a podcast. Like he talks about working with Tommy and boxing against Siege, and like it's really entertaining.
I'm really angling to get Siege and DC on this show in particular at some point before the end of the year.
I'm sure they would both do it.
Sounds like it would be a lot of fun. Anyway,
you
can follow Davis on Twitter at Davis Mattek. Subscribe to the Takecast. Where are you posting these tournament articles?
Fantasy Labs. I do all sorts of different.
I know you're right. You're right for 37 websites.
Yeah, I just don't plug them all. But my tournament article goes up on Fantasy Labs Thursday night or Friday mornings.
All right, so go check that out. You can follow me at the PME on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Give the episode a like. Leave your DK handle in the comment section, and let me know your favorite wide receiver play below $4,000 to get into a draw for 20 DK dollars, which I will be giving out on Monday's live show, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the DraftKings YouTube channel. I will also be live Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on this very DraftKings YouTube channel. Taking your questions, Gary and Thorne will be in studio with me, and get this, so will Tim Undercust, live in flesh, sitting next to me. It's probably too close, But hey, he's going to be here. He'll be taking your questions, and he'll be exceptionally triggered. So tune into that. I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!